Hey guys, Tom Cougan. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm a New York City firefighter. So I grew up in Bensonhurst, Dyker Heights area. Mother and father, did a great job at raising me. And I fell in love with basketball at a young age. I was never into the books. I always was a guy that was looking to his left and his right during a Sims test back in the day. I had my mind on other things. I love sports, so sports became everything to me. So after school, it was sports. It wasn't going home, reading and writing, which I wish it was, but it wasn't. After high school, I quickly jumped into the workforce. I went to college for a little bit, didn't really work out for me. I ended up failing out and got into the restaurant business. Became a bartender at the age of 18, and it was the best job in the world. Making tons of money. I was able to drink before I was 21, so who's better than me? The only thing that has happened during that time was I ended up in a car accident with a drunk driver, and I had to undergo 2 surgeries, one for my hand and one for my knee. So after the surgeries, I had to go to physical therapy, I had to see some doctors, and I was prescribed opiates. That took me down a downward spiral. I was taking one every 3 hours as prescribed, and then I had to continuously go up from there. It ended up being 2 every 3 hours, 3 every 3 hours. After that, I just continuously couldn't function every single day without using opiates. And after I started using on a consistent basis every single day, my whole entire life started just crumbling. I just didn't know what to do. It was just to the point where I couldn't stop using, but at the same time, I felt like my whole life was just crumbling before me. I ended up actually getting on my feet for a very short time. In the midst of my struggle, I met a beautiful, beautiful woman. Her name was Paulette. That completely changed the course of my life. I met her one day at a bar. We ended up talking. We were dating for like a week or 2, and she asked me about God. And I grew up Catholic, and I knew about God, but she knew a different God, and I didn't kind of understand what she was saying, right? She's a Christian, I'm a Catholic. I thought there was no difference growing up. I had no idea. So she's like, you come to my church and I'll go to yours. That's the agreement we made. So I did that. She came to my church. It was great. I went to her church. It changed my life. Completely changed my life. I seen a rock band on stage. I walked through the door. People were actually saying hello to me. And I felt the presence of God during this whole time. I'm in church. I'm with Paulette. I'm still using. I'm still in active use every single day just to function like a normal human being. Paulette ended up getting pregnant. We moved in together, and I have this conviction due to me still using and me still being in the church. And I fell in love with her, and she had no idea that I was using anything. So I ended up telling her exactly what I was going through in my struggles. And she didn't speak to me for 3-4 days. She was hysterical, crying, in a complete depression, and I had no idea what to do. At the time, I stopped using, and I promised her that when we get married, I am gonna completely be 100% sober and dedicated to her and my son. And she said, okay. We ended up getting married, and things were great. New York City Fire Department was about to call me, and I end up using again. So throughout my struggle, after my relapse, I just couldn't get a grasp on it. I went to rehab 2 times, and Paulette stuck by my side. Things got better for a little bit. We had another child, Aaliyah, and I was good, and then I relapsed again. At the time, thank God for the New York City Fire Department, I ended up going to the top-notch rehab. And it completely changed my life. But I had to face a lot of consequences due to that. Paulette left me with my son and my daughter. I lost my house. She moved in with her mother, and she filed divorce papers, and it completely devastated. I knew that I was in rehab for the third time, and if I didn't get it right, that's it. It's all over for me. I would have had no reason to live, I felt like. I completely surrendered everything to God at that moment in this rehab. I gave everything I had to Him. I was reading the Bible on a consistent basis, and I had a lot of help while I was in there. So I had about 2 weeks before I got released from rehab. I had absolutely nowhere to live. I couldn't go back to live with my mother and father. So I picked up the phone and I called this man, Doug Ryan. And I love this man to death. He's like my father today. He took me into his house and I lived with him and his wife. And he showed me a new way to live, this guy. So I lived with Doug for over 7 months, and he completely transformed my whole way of thinking and how I show up on a daily basis in life. And Doug was in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he's been sober for 20 years. And what he does on a daily basis is he helps other people struggling the same way that he struggled. Just seeing such a selfless act in person and living it with him just showed me that there's people in this world that really truly want to help. 7 months to the date, me and my wife rekindle our marriage. We've been seeing each other. I was able to see my children every weekend, and we were having talks of moving back in together and getting a place. We found a place right directly across the street from where I was living, at Doug's house. A beautiful townhouse in an affordable price that at the time we were able to afford, and we moved back in together. I'm working in the firehouse still, I'm making money, but we're a single income family. And even with the fire department salary, I wasn't able to support my children, my house, put food on the table. So due to the schedule that we have a lot of free time to do other jobs. So I ended up doing power washing and working for a guy, and I learned a lot. And my wife one day looked at me and goes, "What are you doing? You could do so much more." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Why don't you do your own company?" She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. So I went to Home Depot, I bought a power washer, and I went door to door. So as I was doing pressure washing, I met a customer that had a beautiful house. And I always asked, "What do you do for a living?" And he gave me his card. And he said, "I do real estate investment, and I always look for people to help renovate them." So I took his card, I kept it in my pocket, and I was like, I gotta do something with this. Power washing season ended, I had no more money, I was gonna be short on my rent, and I ended up giving him a call. And by the grace of God, a brand new guy into the business ended up getting a $250,000 contracting job in a single room occupancy building of 20 rooms. And that's what started Renewal Solutions.